World Rally Championship has become the #1 TV sport in the world. We're joined by Lancia team manager Cesare Fiorio.
Rallying is like war, and I'm the commander of an army.
So our number 10, Race for Glory, Lancia versus Audi, released in 2024, starring Daniel Brawl and Riccardo Scannarico. Probably got that wrong, but the director Stefano Modini. What is this awesome rally film about? So this David versus Goliath story, inspired by true events, well, the Goliath of the story is the German team Audi, and it focuses on its battle with the Italian team Lancia for the 1983 World Rally Championship. Now, against all odds, Lancia is battling to regain its former glory with an unbeatable combination of a very good driver, extraordinary courage, and, well, an interestingly designed car. Let's leave it at that, shall we? So when looking at the positives, this film has emotion, and the rally scenes are absolutely amazing. In terms of the negatives, well, the story, the protagonist, and the Audi team, which Lancia is going up against, doesn't really get much of a build-up. Bearing in mind, they dominated rally the year before, and in terms of the rally scenes, as good as they are, I can't help but feel we wanted more. So in terms of a bit of trivia, at the post-Rally Monte Carlo celebrations, the real-life Cesare Fiorio can be seen sat at a table where he nods and smiles at the actor portraying him. So with a worldwide box office of just over 2 million, it's a lot better than its slightly disappointing
You okay?
money.
I'm just thinking.
About what?
Two objects cannot occupy the same point in space at the same moment in time.
Released in December the 26th, 2023, this film, starring Adam Driver and Laura Cruz as both Enzo and his wife, directed by Michael Mann. This is set in the summer of 1957, and it is a biopic pic about Enzo Ferrari. And at the time, yeah, Ferrari is in crisis. We're talking bankruptcy. It is not looking good. And, well, Enzo and his wife, Laura, built this from nothing 10 years earlier. However, the marriage struggles with the mourning for that one son they lost and the acknowledgement of another. Now, Enzo, Adam Driver's character, decides to counter his losses by rolling the dice in one race, 1,000 miles across Italy. The iconic Miglia d'Amelia. I probably pronounced that wrong. So, in terms of the positives, Adam Driver absolutely nails it as Mr. Ferrari. We've got the look, we've got the accent, we've got the mannerisms as well, and those sunglasses come out at times. So, in terms of the negatives, it's been called too slow, and, hey, a film named Ferrari, yes, we want more of those red cars, please. But in terms of the story, a lot of people have critiqued that this feels more like a soap opera. And one of the worst things a film can do in the trailer, many people feel misled about the story, and there wasn't enough. But hey, we can't please everyone. Now for a bit of trivia, Ben Collins, who portrays Sterling Moss in the film, yes, he was the second Stig in Top Gear, that mysterious tame racing driver who set those fastest laps. So the box office just grossed over 43.5 million. However, the estimated budget was 110 million. So, yeah, disappointing. Number 7, Group B, released on the 13th of October 2015, starring Game of Thrones Richard Madden and Michael Smiley, directed by Nick Rowland. And this is a bit of a weird one. It is a short film on YouTube. Yes, you can watch it now. Links in the description. So the positives, did we mention emotion? Well, that is exactly what Richard Madden is fantastic at in this film. The strong arm of the film, the guy that holds the film up. So in terms of the negatives, for something to call itself Group B and not have that much Group B rallying in could be a travesty. Also, people have said the emotion in this film, although good, potentially it makes the film too slow. So a bit of trivia for you rally nerds. The Lancia driver wears a 2001 Lancia logo on their suit. Bear in mind this was in the 80s. Whoops.
On this circuit, the world's most famous motor race is run. For 24 hours each year, men and machines...
So no respecting motorsport movie list would be correct without that 24-hour race. And we're looking at the 1971, released on the 15th of July, Le Mans, which is our number 7 entry, starring none other than Steve McQueen. Directed by Lee H. Katzin and John Sturges. So it does focus on the 24-hour race, with a key factor being two individuals. That American named Delaney, as in Steve McQueen, in the Golf Team Porsche 917, versus the German Staller in the Ferrari 512LM. And, well, Delaney is under extraordinary pressure because the race before, the year before, the Le Mans before, he caused a severe accident. So one of the big positives about the film is the racing, as in there is lots of it. Not too much of a story, but many have likened it to a Le Mans documentary all about the race. And hey, if you're a Le Mans enthusiast, you're going to have no arguments here. However, this is a movie, and some people don't just watch movies for the action. What's wrong with them? But to be fair, we're looking at not the best plot or character development, although it is a well-rendered inside view of Le Mans. In terms of getting emotional with the characters, could be a tiny bit of an issue. But hey, it has fast cars, it has spins, it has crashes. Awesome. So it was a box office of $5.5 million, but the actual film costing $7.6 million, it may have been a bit of a flop to some, but it very much has a big cult following. Okay, this is an odd one, but true. Steve McQueen's blood type, Group O rhesus D negative, if you need to know, is shown on the back of his helmet, and this was commonplace at the time, as drivers would show their blood types either on the helmets or clothing.
Driving faster than anyone else.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
You really think you're going to take a kid who plays video games in their bedroom, you're going to strap them to a 200-mile-an-hour rocket? It'll tear him to pieces.
So, number 6, Gran Turismo, released the 9th of August 2023, starring David Harbour, Orlando Bloom, and Christian Horner's wife, Jerry Horner, or Jerry Halliwell, if you will. And whilst the movie is named after a very successful computer game series, otherwise known as Gran Turismo, made by Sony, well, Polyphony Digital, to be exact. So the story is based on a real-life gamer, Jan Maddenborough, who is from Cardiff, and he spends his days playing Gran Turismo, refusing to succeed in the real world, in spite, or despite even, his dad's negativity towards this gaming obsession. But then one day comes a competition, he, let's just say, wins, and gets a chance to race in a real car, and the rest is history. So looking at the positives, well, again, like so many on this list, very, very good race scenes. David Harbour is one of the linchpins of the movie, and a true underdog rags to riches film. Okay, we're nitpicking a bit here, but there are too many scenes quite clearly filmed at the Hungaroring. Yes, it replaces Silverstone, and it replaces Le Mans, but yes, If you look, you squint your eyes, all we see is the Hungaroring for many of the race scenes. But unless you are a hardcore race fan, it's not really going to bother you. Didn't bother us that much, it just raised an eyebrow. So a bit of trivia, Jan Mardenborough plays a stunt double in the film for the actor who actually portrays him. So on a budget of 60 million, estimated obviously, the gross worldwide was 122 million, or just over. Not bad for a computer game movie.
I know this track. I've raced it 1,000 times. That's what I'm talking about.
So for our number 5 is the oldest film on our list, the 1967's Grand Prix, released on the 10th of March that year, starring James Garner and Eva Marie Saint, to name but a few. The film is about, obviously, Grand Prix racing, but an American driver by the name of Pete Allen. He's fired by his Jordan BRM racing team after what is a crash at Monaco and injures his British teammate, Scott Stoddard. Now, while Stoddard, he does struggle to recover, Aaron begins to drive for the Japanese Yamura team and becomes romantically involved with Stoddard's estranged wife. But that's just the plot of it. There is a lot of racing, a lot of cars, and for 1967, let's just say game-changing angles, game-changing on-board video. And when you watch this film, the crashes are quite impressive for 1967. But not only that, had it not been for this film, I do wonder how far back F1 TV directing and their camera angles would have actually been. So you may have already guessed one of the positives, and it is the groundbreaking cinematography. Those camera angles, the way they shoot the cars, the way they make them look really fast. It is so good for 1967. I cannot exclamation point that enough. It is absolutely amazing, and it was a game changer, I think, to the way we shot races in movies, and also to the way we shot cars and possibly even car chases. It was so far ahead of its time. So we come to the negatives, and yes, the plot, albeit not the strongest of things. There are politics behind the scenes in a Grand Prix which make it quite interesting. There is a love interest which, yeah, but we want crashes, we want cars, we want good racing, and that's what this film delivers. The plot, meh. We can get away with that, I guess, simply because that cinematography is so good. So let's end with a bit of trivia. The cars used in the film, supposedly Formula 1 cars you may think, they were in fact Formula 3 cars, made up to look like F1 cars. However, there is footage of Formula 1 cars shot during the actual Grand Prix races of 1966. So don't worry, they were also used. So when looking at the box office for this movie, it made 20.8 million in the United States and Canada alone. Sadly, we can't give exact estimates other than that, but it had a budget of 9 million, so it can tick that success box.
These are the men and women who live for the dare and the danger. Here are the reckless and the romantic. The cheers.
To beat Ferrari with a Ford.
Correct.
And how long did you tell them that you needed? 200-300 years?
90 days.
So number 4 is another biopic pick, released on the 15th of November 2019. It is Ford versus Ferrari, otherwise known as Le Mans 66, starring Matt Damon and Christian Bale. So American car designer, played by Matt Damon, Carroll Shelby, and driver Ken Miles played by, Christian Bale, they battle corporate interference and the laws of physics to build what was a revolutionary race car for Ford in order to defeat Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1966. But obviously, that's just a tiny bit of what goes on here, because the heart of the film is Ken Miles, Christian Bale's character, and Matt Damon, and the relationship they have together, and the relationship that Ken Miles has with the legendary Ford GT40. By the end of the film, you are going to absolutely root for Christian Bale's character, Ken Miles. He's harsh at first, but you definitely learn to love him. So there's so much to be said, good things that is, about this movie. And it's the emotion of this movie, as we already mentioned, the chemistry between the characters, and the director James Mangold does an excellent job at pacing and building you up to what is going to be that epic event, Le Mans, in 1966, and building up the GT40. You are not going to be disappointed. This is a movie not only just for race fans, but I think anyone is going to enjoy it. Okay, this is probably going to be seen as nitpicking, but Ferrari, the villain of the piece, well, in real life, not really, but I completely understand why you would want to have an antagonist going up against, well, Ken Miles and Mr. Shelby in Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, it says it on the title, as I said, just a bit nitpicking. So a bit of trivia for you. To prepare for his role, Christian Bale took race driving lessons from the Bondurant High Performance Driving School. And why is that a thing? Well, the school's founder had been a friend of Ken Miles, the person Bale was portraying. And Bale got to hear stories of the 1960s racing scene. And Robert Nagel, Bale's instructor and film stunt coordinator, called Bale hands down the best actor I've ever trained. So with a budget of $97 million, it grossed over $226 million. So quite the commercial success.
I don't trust him.
Hold on a minute. Don't you think we ought to talk? What, about how I'm gonna run? Sure. About how you've managed to live as long as you have.
Think you can drive?
Oh, we can drive. He can drive beyond the limits of the time.
The number 3, Days of Thunder, released on the 10th of August 1990, starring Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, yes, this is the movie where they met, and who could forget Robert Duvall, directed by Tony Scott. What is Days of Thunder about then? Well, the world of NASCAR seen through the eyes of Cole Trickle. He enters NASCAR racing as pretty much a rookie. He's a hot driver with, yes, a hot temper. And his attitude, let's be fair, gets him into a little bit of trouble with, well, both his crewmates, initially, and other drivers. But the main crux of the film is the relationship between Tom Cruise's character, Cole Trickle, and Robert Duvall's character, Harry Hoagie, and how they learn to trust each other. Yes, there is a love story, hence Nicole Kidman being in the film, where she is a doctor. It is all very by the numbers, but still, you end up caring about Cole Trickle. You want him to win, and you really care about the relationship he has with Harry Hoagie. There are ups and downs throughout the movie, and the goal is to win Daytona, the Daytona 500, the most famous race in NASCAR, the Monaco Grand Prix of NASCAR racing, or the Super Bowl of NASCAR, if you will. So one of the negatives about this movie is, I feel, one of the positives. It's been called Top Gun, but with cars. And yes, the plot points follow the same beats as the hair-raising aeroplane film, but that's to its strengths. You might think, okay, it's kind of predictable, but it is very much a popcorn film. You are going to enjoy it. The plot is very good. The characters are very good. It is a solid popcorn film, and even if you're not a fan of NASCAR or racing films, you're going to enjoy this. So, Top Gun with cars, a plus, but many felt that the forced romance in the film between Nicole Kidman and Cole Trickle didn't really need to be there. Yes, it is enjoyable, but I can't help it for you take that out of the movie and not much would have changed. Maybe they just put it there for the girls, who knows. So with a budget of $60 million, it made over $157 million at the box office. So, success ticked.
I don't want you to hold a bad opinion of Cole.
Cool.
Think your driving can improve?
I'll take your word for what a car can do, but I'm not taking anybody's word for what I can do.
So, number 2, we're not really cheating because it did come out in the cinemas and is a movie, is Senna. Obviously, starring Ayrton Senna. The documentary about, well, perhaps the greatest driver that ever lived. And if you're watching this list, well, you should know who Ayrton Senna is. If not, I'm massively surprised. And this film shows the monumental and yet tragic life of the legendary Brazilian motorsport racing champion, 3 times a champion, Formula 1 that is, Ayrton Senna. And it spans a decade from his arrival in Formula 1 in the mid-80s, and it follows his struggles both on and off the track, with a focus on his nemesis, yes, the French champion and Senna's eventual teammate at McLaren, Alain Prost. And it gets interesting. Expect a fair amount of controversy, and you will be rooting for Senna in this documentary. And, well, Prost, yes, rightly or wrongly, he's very much pasted the villain of the piece. In terms of positives, well, there's not enough we can say, but the documentary itself creates a really intimate view of Ayrton Senna. Yes, we have the F1 stuff, but then we have the family stuff, the stuff behind the scenes that we've never really seen before, which creates, as I said, an intimate and emotional documentary. This may well be one of the best documentaries about. In terms of negatives, it's very hard to find any, and if we were nitpicking, well, people have suggested that there's not enough Formula 1, as in F1 footage of cars racing. But that's not all what this documentary is about. And if you want to see Ayrton Senna on-track action, there are many other ways. For example, YouTube and the F1 TV app with the archive races. So on a budget of 2 to 3 million, which was quite a lot at the time for a documentary, it has made, well, as you can see, over 10 million, which is not bad for a documentary. And that's not to take anything away from Senna.
That makes me happy.
I think that's very dangerous.
We are competing to win. And if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver.
Now Prost takes the lead. Senna is trying to go through on the inside.
So, number 1, the best, subjectively of course, is Rush, starring Chris Hemsworth as James Hunt and Daniel Brühl as Niki Lauda. Directed by Ron Howard, Rush tells the story of the massive 1976 F1 rivalry between Chris Hemsworth, James Hunt, and Daniel Brühl's Niki Lauda, and quite the rivalry it is. Now, although the 1976 is the main part of the story, it goes before that. How these two drivers came to Formula 1 and how different they are, which then just makes for the magic of when they do compete for that World Championship. And as the film goes on, there really isn't a hero or villain. Yes, as we all know in the history books, James Hunt was the victor that particular year, but yet Niki Lauda was the more successful driver. The fantastic thing about this film is neither is hero or villain, and you end up rooting somehow for both of them. So one of the best things about the film is Daniel Bruhl's portrayal of Niki Lauda. He gets it exactly on point. And perhaps one of the reasons why is he spent quite a lot of time with Niki Lauda, speaking to him. We have the overbite, yes, that's done by makeup, but just his mannerisms, the way he speaks, his body language screams louder. Now, I'm putting Chris Hemsworth here as a negative simply because a few years ago, James Hunt's son, Freddie Hunt, came out and said at no point did Chris Hemsworth reach out to them on how to play James Hunt, whereas all the work that Daniel Bruhl put in potentially overshadowed the work that Chris Hemsworth did as James Hunt. That's not to say that he was by all means bad at playing James Hunt. He was fantastic, if we're honest, and the chemistry between the two main actors was absolutely amazing and kept the film together and made this film an absolute epic. It's just, I guess, gives us the tiniest bit of bad taste, but still, an amazing film. Watch it. And with a budget of 38 million, the handsome gross worldwide was 96,992,516. Not too bad. So just a bit of interesting trivia. When Niki Lauda first saw the film, he exclaimed, "Bleep, it's really me," in relation to Daniel Bruhl's portrayal of the great Austrian driver.
What happened?
Watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life. You were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
42 days after his near-fatal accident, Niki Lauda will race here today.
And there you have it, our top 10 best motorsport movies. Let us know what your top 10 is. We'd be fascinated to find out, and I will surely comment on it as well. Have we missed one? Did we miss your favourite motorsport movie? Let us know. And if you enjoyed this video, please, we do motorsport videos, motorsport news, gaming videos. And if you like it, give us a subscribe. Thank you very much.